So we want you to, tell us some of the important things that we need to know about mental health.
It's interesting because mental health literally is, the health of your mental, right? It's about taking care of the proceedings in your mind. It's about being aware of the state of your consciousness. It's about taking charge and making sure that you are in a state of mental, health. So it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things, but it really is about paying attention to what's going on in your mind. So, and unfortunately, a lot of people think when mental illness is like when somebody is crazy, like, or maybe it's in Yaba left for people that can Nigeria. Yeah, someone who's, losing it. But mental health is a whole spectrum, and unfortunately, it's a type of disease or this disability that doesn't show on the face, but it is the number one cause of disability worldwide. It's the leading cause of of disability globally. So it's a spectrum, and it could be from just like mild forms of like not feeling it, just being depressed, to like actually losing it. But I feel like we need to talk about the preventive more than addressing the serious conditions.
Yeah, okay, amazing. I mean, yeah, very well. We need to talk about the preventives, okay? But then there are a lot of persons who are going through some of these mental illness at the time, and they don't even know that they are going through it. Because just like you said, the Nigerian setting of mental illness, when you have started picking paper on the street, okay? So people are on makeup like me and they are smiling, but then they are, having a lot of stress in their head. Okay, so we want to know, how do you even know that you're mentally ill?
It's so the mental deals with emotions, right? It's
okay.
Emotion is the reflection of the mental. If you want to know how your state of mind is you have to check with yourself how you truly feeling. And if you check how you're feeling, you can tell how your state of mind is. But unfortunately, we have a culture of masking how we feel.
True.
Exactly. We have, right from when we're young, they tell us to, put our emotions in check, don't cry, especially because today is World Day of the Boy Child. So this is so prevalent in the boy child. A boy, is trying to be emotional, is trying to bleed out emotionally, like, yo, you're a man, stop doing that, stop crying. I'm gonna fight him back. True story. True story. It was one time that, I was a child, and, one kid tried to bully me in the backyard, and, I was crying. I went home, and my dad said I should go and fight him back. But yeah, it just tells you how there's so much pressure on the male child, on the boy child, that you suppress emotions, and you can't tell the state of your mental if you cannot check in with your emotion, if you're not checking with your emotional state. So there are different ways we can check, obviously what's really going on in your mind, but it unfortunately when it gets worse, maybe like you're depressed, you're feeling fatigue, loss of energy, you just don't feel like doing anything, you have apathy towards a lot of things. That's when it's deep. But on a mild level, if you check on your emotional state from time to time, you can tell when there's an imbalance, in how you're thinking.
Okay, so what you just mentioned are like the early signs. So we want to know if someone figures out that they are mentally ill, or they are, having some of these symptoms I just talked about, they are depressed, they are, feeling all stressed out. How do they address it? Do they need therapy, or do they need medical assistance?
I'm not an expert when it comes to the medical aspect of this, but I know that there are different levels and there are different degrees of mental disability or imbalance or illness or whatever you want to call it. There's some stages that you do not require medication. There's some stages that you require medication and therapy. There's some stages that you require just therapy. So there are different requirements depending on how the severity of the case, of the issue. But like I said, I like to advocate more for the preventive, before it gets really bad, like the things that we can do. First of all, worry doesn't help anybody. You can't change anything by worrying. It just amplifies the problem. Then the breath work. Just taking your time to breathe, catching your breath, and just paying attention to your breath. Food works. Good food. Make sure that you have like omega foods that have omega 3. Content in it like that's good for brain health. Exercise works. Make sure that you keep, movement is medicine. The more you make sure that you're moving your body. Connections, human connections. Find somebody to talk to. Have somebody you can confide in. Like if you start to notice something is going on, like in your mind, just find somebody to confide in. The thing is, why I said the mental or the emotions is a reflection of the mental. So if we have a culture of masking emotions, what we're doing is just truncating, how we're feeling, like deep down, deep down, and eventually one day it will burst out. So when people are going through lots of stuff, because of how they grew up, they just keep keeping their emotions to themselves and how they truly feel. They just keep putting it, with themselves. But if the more you share, the more you have an audience, the more you let out those emotions. If you need to cry sometimes, please cry. There's so many things that you do, but the most important thing is for you to understand what state am I in? What state am I in? What do I need? Like if you go 3 weeks without not wanting to go anywhere, not wanting to see anybody, just loss of energy, that is really severe. You definitely need medical attention or the attention of a therapist and all of that. But just know that movement is medicine, good food, think right, breathe in, so many things, man.
You've just listed some things that I mean a lot of persons need to start engaging themselves in, even if you've not started noticing some of these signs yet. Okay, because just like you said, the preventives,
Yes.
in fact, you need to learn to prevent before you get into the situation yet. Okay, a lot of young people are on social media doing a lot of things. In fact, the scam rate has increased, it has tripled. Okay, so I want to ask you, do you think that social media has any kind of effect on the mental health?
It's called social media. So
Mm-hmm.
the first word there is social. And
Okay.
we are social creatures. Human beings are
Mm-hmm.
social creatures. So everything that we do in the social affects how we feel, how we act, our culture, basically. And there are studies that have proven that social rejection hurts like physical pain, even more than physical pain. Because think about how we evolved. Somebody likes you, like, yeah, yeah, double tap on you. It's social approval. So social approval makes us feel good. Social rejection makes us feel unworthy. Now,
Yeah.
when you feel unworthy, remember I told you that emotions is a reflection of the mental. If you start
Yes.
to feel unworthy, you start to have feelings of not being enough, it's going to affect your mental, whether you like it or not. And
Mm-hmm.
so, social media is just a reflection of the real life situations. So, it definitely does affect our mental health because when you come on social, you see things that wish you were doing. You see a makeup that you wish that you had, a wig that
We
you
won.
yeah, a
Brazilian.
weave-on. Exactly. If you see a weave-on that you want to buy and you don't have the money to it, you see somebody else that has more likes than you. You might tweet something and somebody else tweets the exact same thing, but the person has more retweets and more likes than you. That is social rejection. And social rejection hurts like physical pain. So it definitely does affect your mental in ways that you're not paying attention to. Even the people that created this, these social media platforms, they're realizing how much it's hurting people's mental health, because people are looking for that social gratification. They want more likes, they want more views, they want more. So a lot of people are doing nasty things just to make sure that they have that social approval. They are bullying people just for the attention. Really, it's about attention. Everybody wants attention. As a child, maybe people lacked attention. They didn't see them. They didn't have that attention from their parents or whatever it is, from peers. So they try to go and look for that attention online. Now you bully people online, you drop nasty comments, or you just really just envy people. All these
They call
things
it
have to do
savage.
with savage. You're trying to be a savage on online, but you're only reflecting what's inside of you and hurting yourself is more. You know how they say like only hurt people. That's that aspect. But the way I see it is that if you see somebody being nasty online, it's just a reflection of their state of mind. And if you judge them for that, it means that your state of mind as well is not fine. Because you should be able to love the patient and hate the disease. You should be able to identify that, oh, I understand what's wrong with you. It's not really, it's just your state of mind and you need healing. It's just like, when you go to church, it's because you need healing. It's like, church is like, or mosque is like a place, it's like a hospital. Like you can't judge people in the hospital because they need healing, right? They need purification. So that's how some social media platforms can be as well when you see like negative energy. But it does affect your mental health, and online bullying is even worse because people are committing suicides. I think there are more boys committing suicides than girls. So boy child, it's a lot of pressure on the guys because yeah, it's obvious. You just see that there's so much more that you could be doing, but are not doing, or you don't have the capacity to do so. Love the patient, hate the disease. Yes. Yeah. So I think the Yorubas probably have a proverb for this, but I can't remember it. But check. Let me bring it home. If you see a mentally ill person on the road, who's someone who's on the other spectrum, we call them a madman, for instance. So let's say you come across a madman on the street, and he's attacking you like with words, verbally, and say, "Yo, look at you! Look how ugly you are! This, that." Are you going to engage that person, that madman, because it's being vile at you? You know his state of mind. You know that this person is not well, so I'm going to avoid you. Now, if you engage that madman, it says a lot about your mistake. Do you understand? So that's the same thing about social media. Now, I said the first word in social media is social. So that is a social situation in real life. So social, physical, and social media. So take that situation online. Someone is being nasty or whatever it is. You cannot engage that madman or madwoman or whatever it is because your state of mind is in an elevated position that you cannot engage with that. If you engage with that, it
Understand
speaks a
better.
lot about, yeah, it speaks a lot about you. And you cannot judge them. You can't judge that madman for saying those things because he's in the position that it is. If you cannot help them, don't judge them. You know,
Okay,
just
yeah.
walk away.
Is inferiority complex and low self-esteem is they can I tag them or can they be tagged as mental illness?
No, no, that's not a mental illness. That's a that's a that's a condition. That's an emotional state. Now, we are social creatures. Hear me out. We are social creatures, And social creatures, what that means is that we depend on belonging, a sense of belonging. We need to have a sense of belonging. You need to belong to a group, you need to belong to a family, you need to belong to a tribe, you need to belong to a nation. So different amplifications of that state of belonging, because we are social creatures. And remember, I spoke about social approval. It's the same thing. When somebody likes you online, they like your post. You have that jolt of, is it oxytocin? I can't remember the thing, but something, the feel good hormone, dopamine. Yeah, dopamine. Inferiority complex comes from a place of wanting to be accepted. You
Okay.
know, we feel inferior because we feel like we don't belong. It's not, and that is not from a mental, it's a social problem. It's a social problem,
Oh,
not necessarily mental, but it's a reflection of the social. Like, we want to feel like we belong to something, like we're part of a group, and that is from evolutionary reasons. So when somebody feels inferior, like for instance in a class, there are a lot of tall people, and you feel inferior because you're surrounded by a lot of tall people and you're short. It's not a mental problem. It's really a reflection of a social problem, which is you feel like you don't belong. For instance, you're online, you see a lot of people more light skinned than you. They appear to be more beautiful. They have, more lights than you. It's not necessarily mental. It's a reflection of a social problem, which is that you feel like you do not belong to this group. So that affects your mental. So it doesn't, it's the other way around. And that's why we need to do more to embrace more people. We need to have more diversity and say, you know what, you're okay the way you are, you're good the way you are, you're beautiful the way you are. It's okay to grow, it's okay to understand the process. It's okay. People have different timelines of whatever it is that they're doing. You don't have to use another person's watch to go and work. So inferiority complex is not a mental problem per
a
se,
mental
but it
issue.
can it can affect your mental health when it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit where you feel like inferior to everything and everybody, you feel like you do not
Probably
belong.
gets you depressed.
Yes, exactly. It leads you to, that state of depression. So it doesn't stop that way. So it's usually rooted in something. Maybe they feel like they do not belong somewhere, in a social gathering, in a social construct. Maybe they feel like they're not beautiful enough, they're not smart enough, they're not tall enough, they don't have enough followers. That's a state of insecurity, and we need to embrace our vulnerable side. We don't do that enough. We don't communicate that aspect of us enough. So yeah.
Are there other ways that someone can stop having low self-esteem or inferiority complex?
Okay, that's a very fragile topic to talk about, because you know it's very personal, and you have to heal from within. You have to find value in yourself. You have to see value in yourself. You have to see yourself as someone who's worthy of love and attention, and who is enough. You have to see yourself as being enough. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. There's always going to be somebody taller than you. There's always somebody richer than you. There's always going to be somebody more beautiful than you. There's
Yeah,
always going to be somebody who appears more than you, who appears to have more than you have, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's okay. The only thing that matters is purpose. Like, why are you
yeah,
here? Why are you here? Why are you here? There's sometimes that, life will put you in a situation where you have to be face to face with people who are more beautiful than you, who appear more talented than you. But that doesn't matter. It's purpose that matters. I always say that I do not want to be the person with the best voice in the room. I want to be the person who sings for the voiceless in the room. Now, can you see that? Can you understand that narrative? It's not enough to have the best voice in the world, but what are you using your voice for? Somebody else might pride themselves as the most beautiful in the room, but I like to
Yeah.
use my beauty to drive attention to the people who feel like they're not seen. So that's where purpose come into play. Use what you have for your purpose, but you can't know that unless you figure out what it is that your purpose is. So know your purpose, know your purpose, know your purpose. I see my comedian extreme here. So if you're a comedian, there's always somebody who's more funnier than you, who has more traffic than you, who has more ideas than you, but that doesn't matter, because what matters is purpose. Which audience are you entertaining? Are you making people feel better every day? Even if it's one comment, two comments, three comments, you're making that person have a jolt of feel good chemicals, and you're giving that person one more reason to be alive. So, purpose is what would help with inferiority complex. Because if you know your purpose, why would you judge a fish because it cannot climb a tree? It doesn't make sense. Why do you want to judge a monkey because it cannot swim? It doesn't make sense. Because they are created for different purposes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it has just been an amazing session. I've just been learning a lot. Thank you so much. We are so excited. You've done justice to, I mean, it's been a good time having you. Thank you so much, Korede Bello, for all you do. Thank you for your mental health initiative. I really appreciate it. I'm so
Thank you.
excited.
Keep
Thank
shining.
you for being here. God bless
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's been an amazing time, guys. Thank you so much for being here.